straight to questions today. And we will call two at a time to maximize the time. So let's start out today and go start with Dean Legge and then go to Jed May.
Hey, Kirby, there's been a lot of discussion about Tennessee's offensive line. What are you seeing from their tackles that will maybe give your rush guys issues?
They got great size. They're very experienced in our league. One is a kid that's played a lot of ball, played well last year against us, and he's gotten better. They've got a tremendous offensive line, probably one of the best in our league. I mean, us. I like our offensive line good. I know Alabama's got a really good one, several others, but these guys are talented. And, Cade's played in our league at the tackle position. He's proven he can block the best guys in the country. And so has Linemen. So they'll be really a great challenge that they present us.
Hey, Kirby, I wanted to ask you about your defense complementing each other and just what you've seen from that unit so far this year in terms of, the pass rush creating opportunities for interceptions on the back end and sort of, on the opposite side of that, good coverage allowing your guys to get home.
Yeah, I think that's always the case. You want to complement each other. I think they've done a tremendous job of doing that. They got a lot of experience, but they probably haven't been challenged like they're going to be challenged this week.
Okay, let's go to Anthony Dasher and then Mark Weiser.
Hey, Coach. Just want to get your two-game assessment on Darnell Washington, including the physicality he seemed to be showing as a blocker, and also an update on Trey McKitty.
We're hopeful that Trey's going to be able to go. He practiced today, did a good job. We thought he was going to be ready for last week and didn't want to have to play him unless we had to. Darnell has done a good job. He's been kind of thrown in the fire. I wish his conditioning was at a higher level. I wish he could sustain his high speeds longer. He gets tired pretty quick, but he is physical. He's not afraid of contact, and he's got great hands.
Kirby, I wanted to ask you what you think led to the effectiveness in the last game with Adam Anderson and Aziz, in the pass rush.
The situations they were put in, third and long. I mean, if you put anybody in third long, it's not usually hard to rush the passer because third and long is, the receivers have to go further downfield to get the sticks, which therefore gives them more time, and that has a lot to do with it, a lot of one-on-ones.
And let's go to Mike Griffith and then Seth Emerson.
Yeah, Kirby, a couple questions. What does Tennessee present that you haven't seen from your first two opponents? And then just as far as, how the quarterbacks look this week?
They got a really physical offensive line. We talked about that. They've got a great running attack, very calculated. They understand what they want to do. They know a lot about our defense. Will's gone against our defense for a long time. Chaney's gone against our defense a long time. Pruitt knows about our defense, so they know the ins and outs. At the end of the day, you got to block a person in front of you. You got to move people. You got to strike them. So they present a challenge of being able to run the ball. They really have really good wideouts. They got quality. They got a very experienced quarterback who's going to get them into the right play. They got backs who catch the ball out of the backfield. I expect to see quite a bit of empty from Coach Chaney because he likes to do that and change things up. So they'll present a lot of challenges. Tempo. They go with tempo at times and go fast. They use the game and a lot of the college football. I guess I don't want to say tricks, but the things people do, tempo plays to their advantage, and I think everybody's using those. I mean, every offense in our league is. And then you said quarterbacks, they're doing great.
On that note. Sorry, Kirby. On that note, with defense, kind of a big picture question. When you looked at last year, you all had success in pretty much every game defensively other than against Joe Burrow and LSU. Did you say, okay, LSU did that to everybody, that's, just kind of put that aside? Or did you say more teams are going to try that against you guys and do that as offenses in general, so we need to adjust somehow?
No, I don't think you adjust. I mean, anybody tries to emulate what they did, which there's a lot of people trying to emulate what they did. There's a lot of copycat going on where you see plays from LSU, not necessarily they ran on us. I mean, LSU didn't run. They ran the same plays on everybody. They didn't change their plays. They didn't have to. They ran the same plays over and over and over, and they ran them better than you could stop them. You could know what was coming, and it didn't matter. You didn't stop it. But at the end of the day, it didn't have anything to do with that. I mean, we did work on things that we thought could have worked better against LSU, but I mean, the combination of what LSU had is hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good teams in our league, but that was a lot of good players and a lot of good spots. So I think a lot of people are trying to, I mean, we do some things LSU does. We're trying to do things offensively they do. Tennessee's doing some things LSU does. Everybody does. I don't know that LSU originally, I mean, they didn't like invent it. They got it from somewhere. So it's just more of some of the copycat part. But that hasn't been anything that has spurred us. We're just trying to get better. We look at what other teams in other conferences did that maybe is not in our conference. There's a lot of defense that's copycatted.
All right, let's go to Chip Towers and then Jake Rowe.
Coach, I noticed that John Jancic has joined your staff in some kind of role. Can you just bring us up to date on what John's doing for you and just how you feel like the additional help?
Yeah, we had 3 quality control positions or 2 quality control positions that we weren't able to fill. Actually, when the pandemic broke, we were on vacation or on spring break, and we had a couple spots that were open that we were unable to fill, and we put the hold on those and didn't know if we were going to have the season, so we weren't sure we were going to fill them. And then right there, I don't know, a week before the Arkansas game or a few days before the Arkansas game, we decided to fill that role, and it's more of he breaks down the opposing team's defense and coaches to coaches in terms of the insights of what that defense does and what their tendencies are, and just have a defensive mind on the offensive side of the ball. It's very common in the NFL, and it was important to Coach Monken that we had somebody that could fill that role.
Kirby, I wanted to ask you about some of your young offensive linemen and kind of the growth you've seen from them over the past, I guess, almost 2 months now. Broderick Jones, Tate Ratledge, what have those guys done, and are they kind of getting into the flow and maybe starting to make a move?
Yeah, they're getting better. I think each one of them had a long way to go. You know, Broderick missed a lot of the minicamp time with a foot injury and really hurt him as far as getting caught up to speed, not being able to go in that learning phase. Tate has missed a little bit of time as well. I think if either one of them had not missed time, they would be further along, but I don't know that they would be contributing right now. They're going to be good players, and we're trying to catch them up as fast as we can. Look, if there was a pill you could take to expedite these guys' development, we would do it. But you can't get enough reps fast enough. And when the season starts, their reps really get minimized because you're focused on the other guys. So I'm very meticulous about the number of reps they get day to day, whether they spend time on the scout team because they get more reps. I've seen Isaiah Wilson, Elijah Holyfield. I've seen a lot of players, Tate Crowder, go from, being on the scout team to being really good players. And those guys are no different. They're working really hard to get better.
Let's go to Jillian with the red and black, and then see if Steve Hummer has a question. Jillian?
Hey, Kirby. Just to look back at your time with Jeremy Pruitt at Alabama, what memories come to mind that point to the relationship you have with him and how you view each other now, despite facing off on opposite sides of the field?
Just known Jeremy a long time, even when he was a high school coach. He was best friends in college with Will Friend, who's on his staff, and I was best friends in college with Bobo, and we crossed paths a lot. Mike and Will worked together, and then and Jeremy and I were always close with those two guys. Of course, he joined them here at the Georgia staff for a while there while I was at Alabama. But Jeremy worked his way up through the Alabama system. He worked in the weight room. He chased players. He made players go to class. He sat in on meetings. He became a better coach. And he learned a lot from being over there. He was a good coach before he ever went to work at Alabama. But then he went to FSU and worked on his own, and he's worked his way all the way up. And he's done a tremendous job doing that.
Steve Hummer, do you have a question?
Yeah, Kirby, what would you say would be the best way to describe the identity of a defense, of one of your defenses, and how how close do you think your current defense is to perhaps meeting that?
Well, first of all, it's not my defense. It's the University of Georgia's defense. It's Coach Lanning and the defensive staff and the defensive players' defense. I'm not sitting here trying to take credit for something those guys have done. I certainly put blood, sweat, and tears in with the rest of them, but those guys put a lot of hard work in to making decisions, and the players. If the players don't buy into what you do defensively, it's not any good. I think Dan and his staff do a tremendous job selling who we are to the players, and Dan imparts his personality on that, and I think the players appreciate that. I don't think it's a one-person gig, but if you had to define a great defense, it would be relentless effort. It would be, reckless abandon. It would be constant pressure and pursuit, not giving up explosives. And we've done a good job of that, but we also did probably play one of our worst defensive games last year against Tennessee. When you look at it in terms of tackling, getting pushed around, big plays, just was not indicative of who we are or want to be.
Thanks.
Let's go to Connor Riley.
Hey, Kirby, when you were either recruiting Jalen Carter or in his brief time at Georgia, was there an athletic thing that he did or a feat that he had that really impressed you?
Yeah, lots of them. He had a bunch of dunks. He had a bunch of basketball dunks that were pretty incredible. And then, of course, he had a one-handed catch at tight end, caught passes as a fullback in his offense, and really athletic big man.
All right, let's open up for anybody for a couple minutes. Anybody, go ahead.
Kirby, how tight is that right tackle battle right now with Warren McClendon and Owen Condon? Because both of them have played a lot of football in these first two games.
Yeah, it's a good battle. It's we get to see a lot more of it than you guys do. We get to go against good people every day, so we see it up close and personal. I mean, I guess you guys only get to go off what you see in games, and we've seen a lot of it. I think both of them are good players. They're different kind of players. They both play with toughness, and I think both of them are very bright young men, and they have a lot of respect for each other. So it's been a tight battle, and the guys that practice the best and guys that practice the best during the week, we get to play.
How do you typically rep quarterbacks as far as splitting 1 reps, 2 reps? I know you talked preseason about different patterns. Does it change from week to week, or is there a standard for that?
Now we do it all kinds of ways. We change it up a lot.
Kirby, you guys lost a couple of tight ends from last year's team. I want to ask you about John Fitzpatrick, how he is doing kind of in a more frontline role in your mind.
Is he a front line in our mind?
I just mean in terms of he's been targeted more in the passing game.
I don't understand what you're asking. Is he a starter?
No, I'm asking you how you think he is developing.
Oh, he's developing well. He's doing a good job. He plays with good toughness. Understands the game, understands leverage. He had to battle some injuries in camp. Otherwise, I think he would be further along. He was having a really good camp and got dinged up and missed quite a bit of time, and is really just coming back. He's really just come back for the Arkansas game, so he's just kind of like in week 2. But he's developing well. He's getting better with his blocking and catches the ball well. And I think, if we can get Trey back to 100%, we'll have 3 good experienced tight ends there.
You said you thought that Tennessee understood your defense pretty well. Do you feel like you have a pretty good idea what Jim Chaney likes to do, and what are some of the characteristics you know from Coach Chaney?
Yeah, I mean, I worked with him for a while here and got a lot of respect for the job he did and what he built here. He did a really good job. He has some really good game plans and put some good packages together and continues to do that. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff, so it's not like he can't run it all against us, but we're certainly trying to defend it all. So you go out and practice and you try to prepare for it, but you got to be careful that you don't do too much defensively, and I'm sure he's the same way. You can do too much offensively and not do anything well. So you should a lot about what is he going to do, and what is he going to do off of it? What is he going to carry this game, and how well we can adjust to it fast.
Kirby, you've seen Stetson from a lot of different angles since he's been at Georgia. Scout team quarterback, third team, second team, all that different stuff. has there been any difference in the way he leads or the way he acts or goes about his business now that he's in a more prominent role, now that he has started a game and, presumably enters this week as the starter as well?
No, he's just more mature. I mean, he's wiser, smarter, more experienced. Just like you would say, any quarterback is more seasoned. He probably forced the ball and made some mistakes early on. And I don't know that the scout team's always good for you because we're screaming and yelling for him to throw the ball over there, and sometimes it's not good to throw the ball. But on the scout team, we want to play the ball. So he gets some bad habits from times when he was down there early on in his career. But he got to go to Mississippi, play and play in a really tough league, and then he came back here and got to get a ton of reps as a 2 and go every day and prepare like he's going to be the second guy. So I mean, he's got a large amount of experience, so it allows him to understand what's going on around him and make good decisions.
Kirby, obviously you always emphasize stopping the run, and that's going to be a big key this week. How different do you think those two backs for Tennessee are in Chandler and Gray?
Different as in different than what we faced, or different than each other?
Different than each other.
I don't know that they're a whole lot different. I mean, they're both, hard downhill. I mean, they hit the zone play. They hit it to pry it open. There's no indecision. They're going to bust through there. I respect the way they run the ball. Physical. They're good receivers out of the backfield, kick returner, punt returner. I mean, they're all around really good backs. And I mean, I compare them a lot to our guys. That's what they remind me of, and they're good football players.
Let's take one more question. Anybody? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.